Ladies and gentlemen,
There we are.
if you remember the days of the Ultimate Warrior and the Undertaker, if you remember those days where it was brother love and certainly his moments, well, we're going to almost kind of create those here tonight on Sportswire Radio. We're going to be joined here very shortly here with the CCW Facebook page. And I'm excited about this because if you ever think about interviews in sports where you see somebody speak a different language and you need a translator, well, we're going to have that tonight. So certainly, but for good reasons, because our guest here, the man, he is certainly the man of the hour right now in CCW. He is going to be in a huge match, which some have already called that match that is going to steal the show here, the match of the night. That is Prince Dagon. He is going to be in action against superstar Rob Bagwell and CWO versus Pandemus. We'll get into all of it here over the next hour. So without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, we have here Pandemus and the man of the hour right now. That is Prince Dagon.
Great introduction. I like that introduction. Great introduction.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we had to get down and dirty and try to recreate it in the best way that we could. Because right now, the man with us in the center, you look at him right there, Prince Dagon. He right now very well could be the most dangerous superstar of them all, especially if you were a fan of CCW. And for those that are watching and listening to this on Sportswire Radio and all of our platforms who are just hearing about Prince Dagon, I'm going to set the tables in how it all started between Rob Bagwell and Prince Dagon.
Bagwell, interrogative Nephi, Somos Pandemus.
Bagwell questioned my loyalty. We are Pandemus.
Why did Bagwell question your loyalty?
Because Bagwell sees Prince Dagon as a threat. Bagwell knows Prince Dagon is the up-and-coming talent in CCW today and tomorrow.
We could certainly see why.
Sorry, I'll let you finish there.
We could certainly see why, ladies and gentlemen. He is the future. And guess what? He's the present as well.
Exactly. The past, the present, and the future. Today and tomorrow. And Rob Bagwell knows that Dagon is a threat. And he needs Dagon for the CWO to be relevant.
Let me ask you then, since you basically said a number of different things there, the Reverend. Something tells me here, after watching some of these video packages on Facebook, on the CCW pages, that Rob Bagwell, he's afraid that Prince Dagon is going to take his spot. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. That's what this is all about. It is about trying. It's about Bagwell trying to keep his spot, and he's trying to keep Dagon down. He's scared that Dagon will take his spot. He knows that Dagon, not in the CW, without Dagon in the CWO, he will take Bagwell's spot.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. If I'm superstar Rob Bagwell, I would definitely be paying attention to this here and paying attention very, very closely here. Let me get to a number of different comments in here. And Gemma Brown says, "Good evening, Tom. Good evening, Pandemus. We have somebody that's climbed in here throughout our Sportswire radio shows. I don't think he understands what's going on, but we'll show it anyway. That is Joe Wynn. And he says, why are all these British wrestlers so little? Well, Joe, I don't think you know anything about CCW. You need to go to the CCW page on Facebook and join because they're not little. They're the complete opposite of that.
Oh, we are definitely not little.
Oh, that's for sure. No. Definitely, that is for sure. And Uncle Ralph is with us here. And, of course, it always has to come back to top tier because he says the only thing of relevance in CCW is top-tier talent. Well, as much as we like top tier on Sportswire Radio, right now we've got Pandemus. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I would be treading very lightly. Look at Pandemus right now.
About definitely, the top tonight.
I would definitely be treading lightly. And, of course, a very good friend, and I got to give him a huge shout. That is, of course, Slugger Hampton, one half of the CCW Tag Team Champions. That is, of course, the Working Class Militia. Says the Working Class Militia respect Dagon, but Reverend Dudes is a clown, and he's sharing the news. So would you like to respond, Reverend, directly? Because I'm going to let you respond, actually, here before I get back to the point.
No, I've got nothing to say to them at the moment.
Okay, well, that's certainly maybe smart for everybody involved.
This isn't about what I think of the working class militia of top tier. This is about Prince Dagon.
Look at him, ladies and gentlemen here. And Joe actually now chimes in and says, I think he gets it now. It kind of gives me vibes of the Undertaker's ministry. And then Slugger says, let Dagon speak. All right, so let's go back to the Prince for a second here because obviously there's a lot to unpack here. And in some ways or another, this, I think, is going to be the match that a lot of people are going to want to pay attention to here very closely for CCW's Cole Not Dole, which, by the way, for those that are watching and listening, is going to take place June the 25th. Doors will open 6 p.m. You can get in, I think, for just about 10 pounds. So, I mean, listen, forget about everything else going on in the world. You definitely want to see here.
It's all sold out now.
All right, well, you know what? Forget about it. The only way you can maybe watch the show is if you get a ladder. And there's a way to look out a window and look through with the ladder and maybe watch Prince Dagon in action against superstar Rob Bagwell. And we've got here Mad Max Cooper says, I thought this was Prince Dagon's show, not Reverend Butt Cheek show. You have a response? Anybody want to respond to that here?
Well, it wouldn't really be a good show if all we heard was Latin. We need the Max. We need the translations.
Well, as I said last week on the air with Mr. James Barris, who I'm going to get to here in a little while, I wasn't good at any other languages, let alone English. So it would be tough for me to be able to learn Latin in a week. But we're going to try our best to work in here, the Prince. And let me then ask you this question. This is for Prince Dagon here. When it comes to Rob Bagwell, and I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, this is going to be the match of the night. This is, in a lot of ways, going to steal the thunder of maybe some of the other matches, like a Slugger Hampton and a BMD. I mean, what's your reactions to that?
Bagwell, comparem ad Maxim fortis et semper.
Bagwell, get ready for the most ruthless opponent you will have ever faced.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would definitely be treading very lightly here. And Taylor Truths just comes in here and says, look, it's the Freak Squad. Let me ask you this question, and maybe the Reverend can answer this, and maybe even the Prince can answer this, because obviously there's a number of different things. And I see our Light in the Dark champion is also with us, and I'll get to her obviously in a second as well. But something tells me here, based on the comments that I'm getting from a number of different people in the locker room, I do think right now that the locker room in some way, shape, or form is scared of you guys. They are very scared of what they see because the results do speak for themselves. What's the thoughts?
Yes, it does seem that way. And when we started out last year, Pandemus' first match, well, funny enough, our first match was against Rob Bagwell and his woman. And the first two matches that we had, we got beat. And then come December, we were put into a tag team title match. And that was when we found our strength. And that was when we took the tag team titles. And that was when, at that point, that despite what people will sit and say, they took us seriously. And everyone was after us. And then when we lost the titles a couple of months back, and people still fear us.
Let me ask you a question here, and I got a number of different comments. I'll get to them in a second, but I do want to bring up the Light in the Dark champion. I'll go back into the whole Summer Rae Rob Bagwell thing. I'll even bring in Dustin Hart in a second. But I mean, is there a possibility, let's say, that would be something in sights for Pandemus and specifically Prince Dagon, that Light in the Dark championship? Because I'm looking at right now everybody here, and I could certainly see maybe something down the road here, maybe between the Prince and Amber. Any thoughts to that?
That is something.
Reverend, I know Belzy would love to get his hands back on Amber.
That's why we brought it up here. And a number of different comments in here. Let me get to the lawman, Kyle Kennedy of Nonstop Action Wrestling. He says here, those boys besides you speak, meaning Pandemus. So the lawman might be a big man, but I don't know if he knows if he's barking up the right tree or not. I guess Pandemus here doesn't even want to respond to the lawman.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said there. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So certainly the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who's a part of Nonstop Action Wrestling, and he's a part of his own faction, which is the Society, and he's undefeated over there in his own rights. His response is, do these boys speak besides you, the Reverend David Dudes?
Well, this man to my left, you're right on the screen, he only speaks Latin. This young man speaks. We normally try to tell him speak when you're spoken to, but he has this youthful arrogance and cockiness about him, and he just chimes in when he wants. And your lawman, undefeated, come to CCW, bring your faction to CCW, and we'll see about that undefeated streak.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, something tells me here that we'll find out one day. And Taylor Truth chimes in, says, Dagon has made Pandemus a big deal. The Reverend is a twerp.
Oh, Taylor, shut up. Yes, Dagon has made Pandemus a big deal. Dagon has legitimized, gave us credibility. So yes, Taylor, you're right.
And our Light in the Dark champion has responded here and says, out of everyone in Pandemus, Spawn has the most potential for taking this title from me.
Oh, that would be interesting, because we do want at some point to set. I was going to say Spawn there. Yes, Spawn does have a good chance of taking the title, but we also want to set Dagon, the father, on the road for the title. Spawn, you still do have some growing up to do, but you will get there one day. You have the potential. You have the potential to be better than your dad.
Ladies and gentlemen, something tells me here June the 25th is coming, and it's coming real soon. And something tells me here, superstar Rob Bagwell and our guest tonight, Prince Dagon, is definitely going to be a match that is going to tear down the house for sure at CCW's upcoming Cole Not Dole, which is sold out, the 9th consecutive sellout show here for CCW. So CCW's train continues to keep rolling on here. And the lawman, Kyle Kennedy, has responded here. And he says, easy now, Rev. That wasn't a challenge. However, I wouldn't mind giving someone a holy ass whooping. Boy, the lawman Kyle Kennedy definitely responds, and certainly the way he knows best.
Come to CCW and we'll see about that holy whooping.
And before I get to Uncle Ralph, let me get to another comment in here before I get to Uncle Ralph, and that is also from Nonstop Action Wrestling here, and that is Goliath, another big man who's trying to certainly make a mark here tonight. He says, is it Halloween already? Have I missed something? Maybe he doesn't know what's going on here tonight. Anybody?
We have a comedian.
I think even I understand what that means. Basically, Prince Dagon is telling Goliath that he's an idiot. So certainly, I don't know if we'll see Nonstop Action Wrestling versus CCW show one day, but I know one thing, that the locker room of Nonstop Action Wrestling is with us, and I do want to give them a follow also for Instagram and SAW Official. They're also on Facebook, and obviously their talent does like what CCW is doing because they're here, obviously speaking about it. But Uncle Ralph here has chimed in, and this might be something that Pandemus might want to hear. The buffoons hang onto the coattails of Dagon. Dagon is the only one of that group with any credibility.
Belzy and Spawn, what you saying, Uncle Rob? Are you saying that they have no credibility? Spawn already has his victory over the Elite. What a victory it was. And Belzy also, yes, he may not have won the Rumble, but he did a good job. And you can't say that they do not have any credibility. You silly old moron.
Ladies and gentlemen, look at our guest tonight. Would I want to argue with them? If they have credibility and they're telling us they have credibility, I'm going to just do what they say and let them speak and feel whatever they want to feel. Obviously, there are going to be some here, whether it's in the CCW locker room or elsewhere, that may not feel the same. But at the end of the day, there is no reason I'm going to disagree with them. And our Light in the Dark champion has come in here once again and says, I am sorry I disagree because Spawn has impressed myself very much, as did Belzy.
Well, I'm pretty sure any one of us will be willing to take you on.
And no matter who it is, whether it's Dagon, whether it's Spawn, whether it's Belzy, it will be the fight of your life, Amber.
I'll tell you what, it very well could be, and obviously we will get our Light in the Dark champion on here in the near and distant future. And Goliath has chimed in here and says, I might be an idiot. You never know, but I sure don't eat gravel for breakfast, Rev.
This is the way I talk. I can't help the way I talk, Goliath.
Goliath might just want to continue to watch and find out why, because again, look at this group, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think there's anybody like them. These are reasons why also, if you have a chance, go on Facebook right now. If you're watching outside of the CCW Facebook group, I have tagged it onto my Facebook at Tom Bryce at Sportswire Radio. Go to the Colory Championship Wrestling group on Facebook. Over 4,000 members. You can clearly see why. 4,000 members strong, because we have Pandemus with us. The entire group is here. They are going to be in action because the man in the center, Prince Dagon, once again, June the 25th, is going to be in action against Rob Bagwell. And let me ask you this question, Prince. Is CCW right now big enough for you and superstar Rob Bagwell?
No, SM.
No, it's not.
I could certainly see why. I could certainly see why. We very well may only see one man standing and the other man, who knows what else. But I believe I heard Dustin Hart's name come up here a few minutes ago, and he's another person here, obviously. Rockstar Rob Bagwell. My apologies here. Thank you for letting me know that here. So, when it comes to Rockstar Rob Bagwell and Dustin Hart, walk me through Dustin Hart and what's going on between you guys and him, because he's also been another part of this, and I heard his name come up a few minutes ago.
Respect him, Dustin.
The Prince respects Dustin. And I think Bagwell is just trying to ride on the coattails of Dustin Hart. Rob Bagwell is using Dustin Hart because Dustin Hart, he is up here. Rob Bagwell is nowhere near Dustin Hart. Dustin Hart is the one who gives the CWO credibility. He is the one that he is the one that makes the CWO, and Rob Bagwell is riding on the coattails of Dustin Hart. Me and Dustin do not get on. We've never getting on, but I respect Dustin. And if I was to give a message to Dustin now, it would be discard Rob Bagwell. Find somebody else who will give you credibility, because Rob Bagwell, you're dragging the CWO down.
Well, we'll certainly find out again June the 25th. And let me ask you guys this question. And I know some of it's been kind of answered already, but I'll still ask it anyway. What are the goals of Pandemus?
The goals of Pandemus is to become the most dominant faction in CCW, to win all the gold in CCW.
Well, we'll certainly find out. I can promise you that much here. Let me ask you this question, Prince, then. What does CCW mean to you right now at the moment?
Always.
Everything means everything.
How
CCW is in his blood. CCW pumps through his veins.
you could clearly see why, ladies and gentlemen, here. You could definitely see why.
And
look at this man right now.
CCW is home.
It is definitely home, and I could certainly see why Prince Dagon and CCW go hand in hand here. And we are certainly getting more comments in here, so let me get to a few of them. Slugger Hampton says he's certainly got his issues also with the Reverend David Dudes. We've obviously heard that quite a bit, and that kind of segues me into top tier and James Barris. Obviously, we've seen you and certainly Mr. Barris, the Reverend, go back and forth, and I almost have to ask, I mean, you guys want to touch upon certainly Mr. James Barris, the man behind CCW and also the CEO of Top Tier? I mean, I got to throw him out there because I was on his show last week. So I got to throw it out there.
What a joke of a man he is. When he set up CCW, it was me that he come to with all his ideas. And I went along with it at the start, but I could see what was happening as more people were joining the Facebook page. I could see the ego getting bigger, getting worse. I could see the head getting bigger. And then it came to a point when it just got to a point where I couldn't take it no more. I couldn't sit and watch this ego, watch this man get a big head and think he was important, think all this was his doing. He would talk about family, he would talk about community, but behind the scenes, it was all him. And when I finally saw what was happening, and then I found the light, I saw the light, I found God. And James didn't like that because I wasn't taking orders from him anymore. And I was trying to tell people for a year about James. No one would listen. No one would listen. So I set about putting Pandemus together. Started off just me and the pandemic priests. And we set about trying to make people see what was really going on. Making people pay for their sins and making people see what James was really doing. And it took a long time. And I finally got people to see when James turned on the community a few months back. If I remember rightly, I think it was the event in Merton when he turned on the community and he went with these working class militia. And I've finally been vindicated. I've been proved right all along that this was where James was headed.
And speaking of Mr. James Barris, he has a comment. He says, "Why are my ears burning?"
Well, obviously, you know we're talking about you.
Well, that could very well be possibly so. And we have here Uncle Ralph and says, Davy deluded once more lives up to his name. Or I'm assuming...
Ralph. You haven't got a clue what you're talking about. You only see what Barris wants you to see. You only see what the militia, what Tortilla want you to see. One of these days, you are going to see what is truly going on. And you will. And you will. And I'll be there to see your downfall, old man.
You put the guts in
Ooh.
Rest in pieces.
Could very well be the case. And before I get to Mr. Barris, we have another wrestler from another company from the outside, or a prospective wrestler who's training to be out there. And seems like everybody wants a piece of CCW these days, literally, because they know CCW is the place to be when it comes to wrestling action and much, much more. And that is Casey Jack Bradley. Casey's obviously been he's training out of GTM, and he's an up-and-coming star. And he says here, I don't know if it's a joke or if it's a shot. I don't know what it is, but he says, it seems we have a Kiss tribute band. This ain't Kiss, because these guys definitely bring a lot more than just Gods of Thunder. So I can tell you, this is not a Kiss tribute band. This is for real.
It's not
is definitely for real.
Kiss tribute. Believe that.
I definitely believe that. I believe it. I definitely believe that. Something tells me here, these guys would definitely spark a lot more fear out there, and they are definitely true war machines, to say the least. And Mr. Barris has responded. He says here, Davey Dude's the master of talking BS.
Mr. Barris, the man who pretty much defrauded a whole community for nearly 2 years.
Well,
you're a fraud, Barris. You know it. I know it, and you know it.
Well, that could certainly be the case. Maybe, maybe not. There is obviously, that is something that will, I'm sure, continue to be back and forth between Top Tier and Pandemus, and we are speaking all things related here to the world of professional wrestling here live on Sportswire Radio and all of our platforms, as we are now live on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. Instagram, we are also sharing the story through our Twitter page, which I'm at Thomas Bryce 2017 on Twitter. Also, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, Sports Report X, Northeast Streaming Sports Channel, also the CCW Public Group on Facebook, Colory Championship Wrestling, and our flagship on sportnarium.com/player. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, and I've got a few more comments, so let me get back to them. And Casey clarifies now. He says, if I was joking, then I would say worse. It seems these guys worship The Undertaker a lot by speaking his catchphrase. So I think he's trying to show you guys some respect, I guess. And he needs to maybe also check you guys out June the 25th and also follow CCW on Facebook and especially the public group page, Colory Championship Wrestling, which would be my recommendation. Let me get to Mr. Barris and then let me get to Uncle Ralph. Mr. Barris says, you turn your back on me first.
Yes, I did, Barris. Well, you know why I turned my back on you. I found the Lord, but I turned my back on you because you're a fraud. I saw it. I saw what was coming. I saw the ego. James, you're a different person when the camera was on you. You're a completely different person. When the camera was off, I saw what you were like. I saw the real James Barris. And that is why I turned on you, because I didn't want to live like that anymore.
I'll come back to Uncle Ralph, but I want to ask Prince this question because after seeing some of the video packages between both sides here before we went on the air, I almost feel like in some ways for Prince Dagon, for you, my friend, this is going to be kind of like a make or break moment here this Friday. This is very well going to decide the trajectory of Prince Dagon and where we go from here when it comes to success in CCW. What's your thoughts on that?
Historic horror at Dagon in Tentrim.
The esoteric order of Dagon has begun.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And I also want to give a plug to our guest tomorrow night who's going to be with us to talk about this match coming up here between Rockstar Rob Bagwell and Prince Dagon. That is Colin McGregor, who's going to be on the call coming up here on June the 25th. And he says, Pandemus Pilox.
Yes, McGregor. The elite aren't up to much these days either, are they?
And we've got some fans here. Pandemus is the best, so we definitely do have a big-time support here for Pandemus. A lot of people do like what they see here. And Uncle Ralph, let me get to Uncle Ralph. He says, I don't need anyone to tell me what to say. Unlike you, I'm capable of actual thoughts. As I've stated before, I would engage you in a battle of wits, but I refuse to engage with an unarmed man.
Well, it'll be a battle. It'll be a battle of something. What rhymes with wits?
Well, I'm going to leave that for everyone else that's watching this to figure out what that might mean. So that's something that I'm going to allow the public here that might be watching and listening to this to figure out. But I want to ask another question here to Prince, and obviously a lot on the line here, undoubtedly, here on June the 25th, this Saturday at Cole Not Dole here, and it's going to be a great card for sure. Obviously, being on Friday's show, the First Amendment show at the Working Class Militia, we'll see Slugger Hampton in action against BMD, and we'll see much, much more. And we'll preview it for sure tomorrow night with Damian Stone, Lord Damian Stone, and Colin McGregor. I believe around 7 o'clock British Standard Time, so you can check that out here once again. And I'm looking forward to the guys here. But I want to ask you this question, Prince. What do you want to say directly to Rob Bagwell?
Rob Bagwell, 25th, Rector ad Inferos.
Rob Bagwell, on the 25th, you are going straight to hell.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would certainly not want to know what hell is going to be like, because as the old expression would be, hell is a bad place. So certainly, if I'm Mr. Bagwell right now, I would definitely be treading very lightly here. And he doesn't know what Prince Dagon is going to do to him from a comment here, which I think, after what I'm seeing so far, ladies and gentlemen, I might be inclined to agree. I mean, look at Prince Dagon right now. Look at his face. Look at his motivation. Look at how focused he's right now at the moment. Look at Pandemus. Look at them all right now. Would you really want to be in a skirmish with them? I don't know right now, ladies and gentlemen. I know one thing. Certainly, this is a huge reason as to why you want to follow CCW and all of the things that they offer. And certainly Pandemus is a big reason as to why that they are a company that everybody needs to follow. Let me get to another comment in here. And this is an interesting one, so I'll let you guys respond. To be fair, you can't blame Rockstar Rob Bagwell for trying to recruit Prince Dagon to the CWO, as in my opinion, he could be the future of CCW and British wrestling in general.
Jamie, you're right. I actually don't blame Bagwell for trying, because Prince Dagon is the future of CCW, along with Spawn and Belzy. Pandemus is the future of CCW. So I don't blame Bagwell for trying. But Bagwell doesn't know how tight-knit we are, how close we are. And Bagwell doesn't understand how offensive it is to try and poach our members.
Okay, well, very, very fair points there, and great question there, Jamie. So, again, can't blame him for trying, but at the end of the day, I think we know where Prince's loyalty is. And Casey Jack Bradley says, we suffered through 2020, so hell means nothing. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I would give you that much. I mean, certainly 2020 was definitely like no other year, and let's certainly hope that doesn't happen again. But for Mr. Bagwell, he might be facing 2020, certainly coming up here June the 25th at Cole Not Dole, because he could be facing even worse than what 2020 felt like for most of us. So if I were
He
Mr.
will be
Bagwell,
facing 2020 a million times over.
I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, that's a
This
very,
will
very
be
fair point.
hell on earth for Bagwell.
Well, that's a very, very valid point, and I certainly would not want to disagree with that, because, like I've said here for the past 40 or so minutes tonight on Sportswire Radio, look at Pandemus, look at them, and I'm not going to disagree, or I'm not going to question that. So certainly those are things, and I'm curious. I almost have to ask this question, especially for those that are watching and kind of are trying to figure out how all this is turned out, and especially for those that are not CCW fans but are now getting used to what you guys bring to the table. I mean, how did Pandemus all come about?
Well, as I said before, when I first started out, I was, my best friend of 20 years was Mr. Barris. And then he got me on this journey. And as I've already said, I saw what Mr. Barris was like. I saw Mr. Barris in front of a camera. I saw Mr. Barris behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, when there wasn't a camera on him, I saw the ego. I saw the big head. I saw Mr. Barris getting out of control, power hungry. And at the end, I couldn't take it anymore. So I went away. I started praying, and I found the Lord. And then I found the pandemic priests. And then we started off at the time making people pay for the sins, making people see what Mr. Barris was truly like, trying to show the ego. At first, no one believed what I was saying, what I was talking about. And then when we could start doing shows, yes, we started off with on a losing streak. But then last Christmas, when we won the tag team titles, and then at the beginning of this year, when I raised Dagon from hell, and that is where we are today. And this is where we are now.
Before I get to a few other comments, I want to ask, what did winning the tag team titles mean to you guys?
That, just despite what other people might say, that gave us legitimacy in the tag team division. That gave us credibility within CCW. And I don't care what people say. We were feared in CCW. We were feared in the tag team division because the working class militia tried for months to get at us, but we got at them for months. We had them on the back foot for months. But winning the tag team titles gave us legitimacy and gave us credibility as a tag team.
Very, very valid points here. And Casey says here, Daniel Banner will be keeping his eye on you guys. See you soon. He gives a smiling wink. So certainly he has enjoyed what he's heard so far. Colin McGregor has chimed in here once again and says, Mr. Tom Bryce, you will have quality on your show soon. These boys are rascals. I'm going to plead the fifth on that, but I will say that I will certainly have Mr. Gregor on, I believe, tomorrow. So I'm just waiting for, obviously, for them to figure that out in terms of coming on. I think 7 o'clock, I think we agreed upon. So they can definitely message me when it comes to Mr. McGregor and certainly Mr. Stone. So obviously all good stuff there. Appreciate you tuning in. I don't think, though, that the Pandemus faction agrees with some of those things, but Mr. Barris says, I will be sitting back watching Dagon and Bagwell knock 10 bags of fill-in-the-blanks out of each other. It'll save a job for us at top tier to do. That's a good point. And in a way, because are you guys concerned that after what happens by the end of June 25th, Cole Not Dole between Prince Dagon and Rob Bagwell, that maybe you guys, it takes so much out of you that you are going to lose maybe focus on winning all the gold as you talked about? Because you guys did talk about holding all the gold, whether it's the world title, the light and the dark, the tag team titles. I mean, walk me through your thoughts on that comment.
So what was that again? Sorry, what was that again? Sorry.
So basically, Mr. Barris, in a way, makes an important point in the sense that what's going to happen between Rockstar Rob Bagwell and Prince Dagon is these guys are going to beat each other up. It's going to be a war. We all agree this is going to be a war. But are you guys maybe a little concerned that this war is going to take so much out of you guys that even with a win after June the 25th, it's going to take away from the goals here? What you've stated is to have all of the gold here in CCW.
Not at all. Not at all. Yes, they will kick 10 bells out of each other. But as I always say about Prince Dagon, you can't kill what's already dead. You can't put down what's already dead. They will kick 10 bells out of each other. And Mr. Barris, the working class militia, top tier, were nothing until you decided to put yourself in with them. We will take on the top tier anytime, anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a ring. It doesn't have to be. We will take you on anywhere. And we will take all the gold.
I'm terrified, ladies and gentlemen, after hearing that. I mean, forget about a backyard brawl. Forget about even maybe a barroom brawl. Listen, Pandemus will fight anywhere. Listen, you name the place, Pandemus will be there. So it doesn't matter what the group is. It does not matter what the group is, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter the company. And in fact, here, before I get to Slugger Hampton, it seems like there might be somebody that wants to apply to Pandemus. And that's, again, Casey Jack Bradley. He says here, what does Pandemus think of some of the new recruits joining the wrestling scene, which he is obviously training out of GT Ministries and training to be the next big stars? I'm sure you guys are looking for new blood. So he might be voluntarily looking to join you guys. I mean, are you guys taking new recruits?
If you're good enough, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to fight, if you know how to brawl, if you know how to kick 10 shades of, I'll let you fill in the blanks on that, out of somebody, you can join Pandemus.
Okay, I think that's the answer that maybe Casey might be looking for. And Slugger Hampton is tuned in here and says, you'll take on no one, son. Beat you too many times. Boring now.
You beat us. Is it once or twice? I can't remember. This old brain's been smacked about a bit. Is it once or twice?
Top tier Nostrum beat Dagon.
Top tier won't beat Dagon.
Well, I mean, who
in
knows?
The background there. Can't believe somebody didn't put their phone on silent.
Well, Slugger Hampton apparently agrees with you there, the Reverend. He says exactly. Too many times he's beat you guys up to remember. That's what he's proclaimed.
Yeah. Well, they got lucky. They got lucky.
If top tier really wants to face Pandemus, just name a time and a place, and we'll be there.
Oh, he's getting a bit cocky. He's getting a bit cocky there.
And we have here from Uncle Ralph, you can go to the end of the queue for a tag team champs. Twice, you've been comprehensively beaten. Work your way back up the rankings, and maybe in a year or two, you may get a chance.
We will. We don't care. We will work our way back up the rankings. Whatever we will do, whatever, to get our hands back on the tag team. Not only the tag team gold, Light in the Dark and the Underground Championship as well.
All right, and Slugger has responded once again. Watch your mouth, young boy. No one said you could speak.
Top tier.
Have you got something to say?
All idiots. They really think they can speak to me like that. Royalty.
Well, what I will say about the young guy here, he is not full of himself. He has a high opinion of himself. And as I have said before, Slugger Hampton, he has something you don't have. He has youth. Get him in the ring and he will run you ragged.
All right, let me bring somebody in here who obviously definitely would like to say something that you guys might want to hear from. I'll get to Mr. Barris and Slugger and those guys. They've had a few chances. We'll come back to them. No disrespect, but I do want to bring in here somebody you guys definitely had your moments with, and that is Mr. Walker Wall Street. And Mr. Wall Street says, oh boy, it's the idiots. Would you guys like to respond to Walker Wall Street?
I'll pass it over to you.
You're the only idiot, Walter. Remember, every time you face Pandemus, you have lost. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same way with Belzy.
Okay, so that's certainly some important points. And Mr. Barris says, calm down, son. We know you're young and hungry, but don't jump the ladder to the top, straight to us. Your mouth will get you into trouble. Use your head more than your mouth.
How dare James Barris even mention about letting their people's mouths run? He speaks the most BS in CCW. And he talks about using his head. Yet he created a faction full of idiots.
Well said. Well said.
And Walker Wall Street has responded, when I'm done with Belzy Spawn, let's have it. You always run your mouth. Let's see if you can back it up. No one out. 1-on-1.
Cubic Zirconia, Wall Street. No, take him. Spawn, Dagon.
I think even I know what that means. Basically, that means that Walker Wall Street could be getting the hook. I mean, we'll certainly find out. And of course, we would definitely anytime want to have Mr. Wall Street's perspective on it because we want to give everybody a crack here. And we're on Sportswire Radio right now for about 15 or so minutes here with Pandemus. The entire group is with us here. Spawn, Belzy, obviously Reverend David Dudes, and of course the man in the center right now. He is arguably right now, it could very well be the face of CCW here in the future. That is Prince Dagon. He is just days away from a huge match against Rockstar Rob Bagwell. It is going to be Pandemus versus CWO. The battle lines have been drawn here tonight. You can definitely see why Pandemus is a group that you're going to definitely want to follow over on the CCW Facebook page group. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. Colin McGregor says, cannot wait for next Saturday, commenting on CCW 9. So definitely looking forward to that as well. We love CCW here. Despite some of the back and forths, this is why I love CCW, and I love talking CCW, and CCW has become one of my favorite companies. And Casey Jack Bradley says, Mr. Wall Street will end up becoming the Walking Dead if he's not careful. I guess Casey gets it now, guys. Casey gets it because right now, Mr. Wall Street could be walking the tightrope right now.
Belzy is going to make sure Walker
and Slugger Hampton
don't
says,
crush his soul.
And Slugger Hampton says, see you in 10 years when you're ready. So that's, I guess, 10 years from now, Slugger Hampton, that's when he wants to face off. That's his thought.
10 years, 10 years, Slugger, you'll be dead, my friend.
Well, I'm going to plead the fifth on that one because I am not going to respond to that. But certainly, who knows? And Uncle Ralph had said, see what I mean? Deluded by name, deluded by nature.
Same old crap, isn't it, Ralph? Davey deluded. Can you say anything else? Is that all it is with you, old man?
And we've got somebody else that's joining us for the first time that is going to be in the ring with Slugger Hampton coming up on June the 25th at Cole Not Dole. And that is BMD. And he says, boys, got a lot of time for all of Pandemus. So he basically loves you guys, and that's what he's declaring.
Thank you. We love you too, and we wish you well going into your match with Slugger Hampton. I think you're bitten off more than you can chew, Mr. BMD, but we wish you well for June the 25th.
Okay, and we've got here a few more comments. Slugger Hampton says, interesting comment, especially coming from you, Davey Dudes. Now, let me get to Walker Wall Street because he's got a big response. He says here, notice he's saying it in a facetious way. Prawn kept quiet. Well, now it's all fair. Myself and Commissioner Baldwin will show you at the next show why I should be in the lead, and will be coming for every single one of you absolute idiots. The only thing dead about you guys is your dead breath.
How is he going to come after us when after that match with Belzy,
He will be dead.
he won't be able to?
He will not. Once Belzy is done with him, he will be crippled. He is coming after nobody.
Casey says here, 10 years, Pandemus will become gods on the wrestling kingdom.
Oh, yes. Yes, we will. And it won't take 10 years. It'll take half that. It'll take much quicker than 10 years. We are heading towards being wrestling gods right now.
I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on my Facebook page at Tom Bryson, you're seeing what's on the screen here for the first time, and you're like, what's going on here? Ladies and gentlemen, Pandemus is one of the premier groups, not just in CCW, but in all of professional wrestling. So at the end of the day right now, it could very well take them not even 10 years. It could take them 10 months. I mean, 10 months is definitely a very realistic scenario where these guys could have all the gold possibly in CCW. Certainly stay tuned. And BMD says, thank you guys. Big love. Walker Wall Street says, we shall see. Uncle Ralph says, oh dear, resorting to his old chestnuts of old man. Remember, the same old man that floored him 3 times, LOL, buffoon.
From behind, you got me from behind. Shows what a man you are, Ralphie boy.
Okay, so I guess we'll certainly see. And let me ask you this question, and this could be for Prince, it could be anybody in the group here as we get close to winding down here. And obviously, it has been an honor to speak with you guys, and I'm certainly very excited.
It's been an honor to speak with you as well, Reverend.
I appreciate that. I certainly
from one Reverend to another.
I was kind of waiting for that moment to come out there. So yes, certainly big love to all you guys here, and big love to the entire locker room and to the roster, regardless of the sides. But I definitely, I know I got a few comments in here, but I want to ask you guys this question directly before I get to those few comments. But what do you want to say? This could be for Prince and even the entire group. What do you want to say to anybody that's watching CCW for the first time or hearing about you guys that may or may not know what's going on, but are curious and maybe they like what they're hearing right now and they want to find out more information? Like, let's say Casey Jack Bradley did, who's training out of GT Ministries, or the lawman Kyle Kennedy, or just anybody else who's a fan of things, of what we do at Sportswire Radio in the United States where I am. So I'll ask you guys, what would you want to say to anybody that's watching this, thinking about now following CCW?
CCW right now is one of the top, not only in the Northeast, in the country. We are selling out time after time after time. We are consistently putting on the best matches. If you want to witness the best in professional wrestling right now, you tune in, you find us on Facebook, you find us, we're also on Twitter as well. Mainly we use Facebook at the moment. And if you want to see the best in professional wrestling, in independent professional wrestling in the northeast of England today, come to CCW. And to any talent out there, I know there's been guys commenting in, to any talent out there, if you want to come and have top matches, face the best in independent professional wrestling, get in touch with CCW if you want to come and go toe-to-toe with Prince Dagon, with Spawn or Belzy, get in touch with CCW. I know there's been a lot of controversy around us recently, but forget about that, because we are the best. We are continuing to put on the best shows, no matter what anyone says.
Well,
we are the best. Get in touch. Come along and see what CCW is all about.
Well, I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to controversies right now, I don't think any controversy tops what WWE is going through right now with Vince McMahon.
Yes.
So anything you might have heard about CCW, all I'll say is I don't think it pales into comparison what the WWE is going through. It means zero. So we've got another comment in here, and this is somebody we know very well, also a friend of the station. I won't reveal his name, but he knows who he is. Says, how much for the doll?
How much for the doll? The doll is going nowhere. The doll belongs to Pandemus.
Okay. And Uncle Ralph says, forearms are not from behind, clown. Slugger Hampton says, I'm so sorry, Tom. This has been a struggle for you. I don't think so. I mean, I'm enjoying it, I have to say. I mean, certainly every interview is different, right? So that's what it's all about. So we like to give everybody's side of the story here on Sportswire Radio. So certainly we'll get Lord Damian Stone and Colin McGregor's story on this, and I'm sure the entire card coming up tomorrow night. So we'll give everybody a crack. And we'll have more people from the CCW roster undoubtedly here over the next few weeks. And I'm excited to continue to talk CCW. So I want to thank everybody. But let me ask this last question to you, Prince. And it kind of goes sort of similar to what I just asked about CCW. But Prince, I want to ask you this question. And what do you want to say to anybody that's coming out, that's already bought a ticket on June the 25th? What do you want to say to them who's going to watch you and Rob Bagwell mix it up?
June 25th. Vasium Infernals.
June 25th. Let's raise the roof. Do what our fans do best.
I would definitely want to find a way, even if I haven't had a ticket yet. If you can, like I said, bring that ladder. If there's a window, you can kind of peek through in and watch the entire card, watch all these matches. That might be the best way. And certainly the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, what's the nearest train to the CCW arena? I'd like to visit.
The nearest train to CCW for Saturday would be Seaham Harbour Station.
All right, so St. Harvest Station, that is for the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Of course, he is in Yorkshire, so he will certainly maybe give us a report on CCW. So if the lawman Kyle Kennedy wants to give us a report, maybe we'll get that from him next week. And Slugger Hampton says, leave Davey Dudes out of it next time. We will certainly see what everybody else also has to say. Walker Wall Street says, once again, the aforementioned Mr. Wall Street, can't wait to get my hands on Belzy, and I can't wait to make you suffer. You think it'll be a clever signing, that contract yourself, Prawn? You don't understand what you've gotten yourself in for.
Walter, you just don't understand. Pandemus, we're just destroying you every time. And I'm pretty sure Belzy is going to take you to places where you've never been. He's going to send you straight to hell.
And let me get a few more comments in here because now I see them popping up. We have another up-and-coming wrestler also out of GT Ministries. Again, GT Ministries has been a friend, certainly, of CCW's. We know, obviously, the Working Class Militia were there, and they did do a good job in representing CCW. They retained those tag team titles there and certainly did a good job, so we certainly really appreciate what GT Ministries has done for us, and obviously, we like the fact that they have worked with CCW, and I certainly expect that to continue. And Pride says, absolute delight watching fine people enjoying themselves. Sadly, fine and people are debatable on this team. have you tried spreading some positivity instead? I don't know. But Casey Jack Bradley says, like Steve Austin, raise hell, drink beer, and kick some ass. So Casey, on the other hand, he definitely likes what's going on here tonight. Mr. Barris once again says, Oscar, my son, even says Pandemus sucks. So certainly Mr. Barris and you guys are going to certainly continue. Gemma Brown says, Bellies is going to flatten you. So my apologies on mispronunciations that just stumbled out of my mouth. What can I tell you? It's been that kind of day. And Belsy, by the way, Belsy is going to flatten you. So my apologies on that. And Walker Wall Street says, oh, I understand and what happens when Belsy is defeated. So that's Walker Wall Street side of things.
That's going to happen. I didn't see that's going to happen.
So obviously, you've heard a lot tonight from Pandemus. And one more time before we get out of here, if you do like what you hear and you're watching this on Sportswire Radio or listening to us on different outlets, I highly encourage you join the Facebook group. It's a public group, Colory Championship Wrestling, over 4,000 members, and where you can see videos from Pandemus. You can see videos from Prince Dagon. You can see videos from people that have come on the show, like Mr. Barris, like the Working Class Militia. They have their shows Friday nights. Also, the First Amendment show where they talk about all different things. I was honored to be the first guest on that. You have, obviously, Amber does some work there, Rio Delador. And I do want to get a comment, actually, from somebody that might be somebody related to somebody that might be also a boss of a company, from a company called GT Ministries, which we've mentioned quite a bit here. And that is someone you might know of or heard of named Mr. Gareth Thompson. And he says, which church gave you the collar?
The Church of Latter-day Dudes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's certainly that could very well be a church. Maybe that is a church, certainly. And I do want to give a plug to GT Ministries because they have a event upcoming July the 16th at the Fountains Church in Bradford, and it is a 30-person rumble that has already been announced. And who knows? You might see CCW superstars in that rumble. 30-person rumble. Who knows who could be there? Maybe Prince Dagon will be there. Who knows? Maybe Spawn will be there. Who knows? Maybe Belsy will be there. Who knows? The Working Class Militia could be there. I mean, anybody could be there. Who knows? I mean, as far as I know, anyone could be there from any company. And even, listen, Slugger Hampton chimes in. The militia may be there. And this 30-person rumble is important for a couple of different reasons. And we'll hang on to explain because the winner of this rumble becomes the number one contender to the GT Ministries World Championship, which is held by Jack Johnson, and they will get that championship match against Jack Johnson at the following GT Ministries show upcoming in September. So for all we know, listen, it could be a CCW member that wins that rumble. Tonight, our guest, Prince Dagon, after he makes short work of Rockstar Rob Bagwell, maybe it's him. Maybe it's Slugger Hampton. After he makes short work of BMD, you could make that case. Listen, the lawman Kyle Kennedy now has said, you know what? He's got his eyeballs on you. Listen, there is anybody right now in the CCW roster that could be a part of this. So you know what? I almost even have to ask you guys, Pandemus, because we see here Mr. Thompson has opened up the forbidden door. He's opened up the possibilities of different things out there. He was on our stream with the Nonstop Action Wrestling guys, and he allowed us to make that announcement. So I got to do it with CCW. I mean, I'll ask all of you guys. I mean, would you want to be a participant in that Rumble?
CCW is home. As it stands right now, CCW is our home. We are loyal to only CCW.
Okay, even if it's a chance to maybe be a world champion and also come into CCW and be...
we are loyal to CCW.
Okay, all right, so that's certainly fair points. I know that Slugger, we very well may see, though, at July 16th. And BMD says, who says Slugger will make short work of me? Yes, he's interested also in being a participant. BMD, I was kind of saying it more as a figure of speech. Obviously, you and Slugger can figure that out. And BMD says CCW is our home. Absolutely. And we love CCW here, but there's always possibilities. Slugger Hampton says they're scared. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy is declaring himself that he would like to be a participant. He says, Mr. Thompson, hit me up. If you're struggling to find people for the Rumble, I'll be more than happy to take part in that. And Slugger Hampton says hour with sort of a, I guess, closed quote, open and closed quote with an emoji. But let me ask you guys this last question here tonight. And I'm going to ask this in terms of closing thoughts. So I'm going to allow you guys to get the floor tonight. It could be Prince. It could be anybody else that wants to say anything. Anything else you guys want to plug, share, say to anybody that's watching and listening tonight. Certainly your opponent, Mr. Bagwell, anybody else. So I'm going to allow you guys to all get the floor right now. And anything you want to say.
25th of June. At Cole Not Dole, Prince Dagon takes on Rob Bagwell. Bagwell, if you watch this tonight, if you're listening, if you've watched, if whenever you watch this, 25th of June is going to be your hell. Walker of Wall Street. 25th of June, you face this guy. He is a monster. He will be like nothing you have faced before. So Walker, hope you're ready. Get yourself prepared because you are being taken to a place you never expected to ever go. Hell!
For whatever reason, I'm thinking of the Iron Maiden song, Hell Ain't a Bad Place, because Pandemus, they certainly do a good job playing in hell. They do a good job playing with fire and brimstone. I don't know about rock star Rob Bagwell, but I know one thing. Prince Dagon, I would definitely want to not get in the ring with him right now, and we will certainly find out here in some last comments before we get out of here. Uncle Ralph says working class militia are loyal to CCW, but unlike them, they put the title on the line of GT Ministries. And you know what? They held them and they got the job done. And obviously, much respect to the working class militia for representing CCW. And Walker Wall Street says the 25th, you will be a disaster. You're calling Dagon nothing, then I see. I guess that's what he's trying to imply. Maybe it's a spell thing here, but certainly those are things here that we're excited about. But most importantly, before we get out of here, we're excited about June the 20th.
GT Ministries. You never know what might happen. CCW is our home. But you never know what the future has in store. If we want, we will rain hell on GT Ministries one day soon.
I'll say this then before we go tonight. Could you imagine the Angels Army and Pandemus, Gareth Angel, Prince Dagon, and the rest of the guys here tonight? Boy, ladies and gentlemen, I'm salivating at that. You know what? I shouldn't even do this. I'm going to get in so much trouble for actually doing this, but what do I have in my pocket right now? If Mr. Angel and management of GT Ministries can't do it, I'll put the pounds up here right now. If you see it here, I'll put the pounds up here if we need to. If we need to make that match happen, if we need to do something with talent to be in with each other, I'll make sure, as a promoter myself with Sportswire Radio, we'll find a way to make it happen. But I know one thing. I cannot wait for June the 25th. I cannot wait for the entire Cole Not Dole card. And most especially, I cannot wait for Prince Dagon, our guest tonight, against Rockstar Rob Bagwell. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. I want to thank everybody that's watching here everybody that is listening. I also want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there here. I hope you have a great day. I certainly hope that it is nice where you are, and you certainly have a nice, easy day and enjoy whatever you like to enjoy in a day like this. BMD also says Pandemus will smash it. We will certainly see. I may not argue with that for sure. Looking at them tonight, and we are joined here with the Reverend David Dudes, Belzy, Spawn, and of course the man in the middle, the man of the hour. He is Prince Dagon. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening here on Sportswire Radio. If you were on sportnarium.com/player, our flagship, you'll go back to your regularly scheduled programming here in a little while. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you're on LinkedIn, you're on YouTube, we will be back here tomorrow night with Lord Damian Stone and Colin McGregor. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll certainly talk a lot about this, undoubtedly, and the rest of the card for Cole Not Dole. So I want to thank everybody again for watching and listening. I want to thank the entire Pandemus group for being with us tonight. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Good night, everyone. Good afternoon if you're in the United States, and hope everyone has a happy Father's Day. And we'll be back here tomorrow night on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station.